Hey guys, so going to the protest proved pretty interesting. I got to break up a fight. I tried to put myself in a relevant position. I obviously want to let people know that I want to run for U.S. Senate. I need to get some interest, obviously, and some progression before I would be able to launch a campaign officially. But it would be stupid of me to wait until 2018 to actually run against somebody like Orrin Hatch, which I know he has said that he does not want to run for office. However, as the president pro tempore, I surely suspect the power is going to go straight to his head and he's going to run again. He ran on, what do you call a senator who's run 2 terms? You call him home, is what you call him. And this dude is ending his 7th term. Seven, and he's going to go for an 8. That's crazy. John Huntsman might run. That'll be interesting to see what I would do versus John Huntsman. He's done some pretty interesting things. I could see Orrin Hatch really cutting him down for certain things, whether I agree with that or not. I think the Republicans would really tear each other apart. I ultimately am a still Bernie guy. I try to do it in a productive manner and not an anarchist manner. I don't see the benefit in being an anarchist, but I do see the benefit in kind of blowing up the system in a very productive manner, in a way that divorces itself from corporatism into representation of the masses, because ultimately this country was founded on representation, or rather taxation without representation. So we got pissed, gave the big middle finger to King, crossed the pond, came over here, and now we have so much taxation without representation again. So I don't know that we need to cross a pond or anything, but I think there's definitely some radical change that needs to occur. I think multinational corporations have shown themselves to be nothing beyond parasites to our economy, and these are things that need to be addressed. They make the economy far more sluggish. I would welcome any data to suggest otherwise. I'd love to hear somebody's opinion that actually makes a strong argument for something that actually follows logic and ration, that would suggest otherwise. But yeah, I am kind of enjoying being involved. It's interesting being something bigger than me. I'm a huge Bernie fan. I recently met a person who started Bernie for Utah. Oh my gosh, she's a cool person. Sarah Baytop Scott. She's cool. I rather enjoy hanging out with her. Some other of the young Democrats. Audrey, who's the chair of the Young Dems caucus, and yeah, I recently became a precinct chair. Oh, look at me! What? I'm a delegate here, so I'm a local delegate. What? So I can vote for local leadership. This is exactly what Bernie Sanders called for. This is exactly what I'm doing. I'm rising to the occasion. Granted, I also have sights on a colossus of a mountain of a shot, but you know, why not? I find myself in a position asking why not and not able to answer it. When it comes to running for U.S. Senate, while sure the idea in itself at first seems ridiculous, combined with my story, it's not quite so ridiculous. It's so interesting. And I don't know. I've shared it with a lot of people. In a nutshell, 8 days after September 11th, I found myself in Kosovo. Many people were wondering why we're going to a country full of mainly Albanian Muslims. 90% Albanian, vast majority of them are Muslims. In Kosovo there, and because we just got attacked by a Muslim. One Muslim represents apparently what, 1.6 billion? Is that right? Am I off on that? 1.6 billion people. But I don't quite understand that argument. One person represents 1.6 billion, but anyway, I volunteered all of my time to actually do what they called med caps in the army. We gave free medical aid to the civilians. So these are, in a sense, casualties of war, economic casualties of war. These are very poor villages, and we go out to their schools. We have to actually recon the site first. Put chains on the tires. It's like driving around here in Utah in the Rockies. It's pretty amazing. And so driving up those mountains in the Humvee was pretty freaking awesome. Um, driving up to the villages sorry, I just got a text that just threw me off. But driving through the villages to get through the mountains with the snow, checking the chains on the tires every freaking mile, making sure that we can actually reach it. And then the next day we'd actually take the medical staff and we'd take them over. And it was fun. And the response we got, holy crap. So yeah, again, 90% Albanian. And we literally stopped Albanians from being slaughtered, very interestingly. And so, whether you agree with the reasoning behind it or not, we literally saved these people from life or death. And so when we showed up, they didn't speak any English, but these kids lost their freaking minds. So here I am wearing a flak vest, a full, an LBV load-bearing vest. I've got it stuffed full of loaded magazines. I've got I'm wearing my Kevlar. I got my big old cold weather boots. I got my M16, and here are these kids with this freaking ball that they want me to play with, and not daunted by my militaresque, Gestapo-esque, in a sense, appearance. And amazing. The reception was beyond heartwarming. And then compare that to Iraq, where many kids that we took care of in our hospital actually were missing limbs. There were a lot of very terrible things that happened in Iraq. There's a guy who got shot in the head and lost complete feeling in half his body, like he had a major stroke. Man, there's some crazy stuff that happened in Iraq. There was an explosion that happened above our heads in Camp Udari. That was freaking frightening. They explained it off as a Patriot missile fired off because a drone flew over it and scrambled its radar and shot it out of the sky. That said, that's scuttlebutt, so we all know how reliable scuttlebutt is. Scuttlebutt, if you're not familiar with the term, is basically the word around the campfire. Word around the campfire. Scuttlebutt. Anyway, so yeah, been to 2 different war zones. I've served in one amazing reception capacity and one nightmarish, just kind of travesty capacity. The travesty kind of messed with my head for a while. I have a warm awakening with kind of releasing certain parts of PTSD. I no longer deal with any of the horrors or with any sort of negative behaviors because I've kind of come to accept a lot of what I saw, and ultimately I feel like it's led me to be a better person. And I think it's armed me with the cognitive capacity to actually take on somebody like Orrin Hatch. I've also spent an incredible amount of time as a Christian, in the sense of the amount of time I put in every day in the Army. That was, I freaking lived at this place called the New Testament Christian Church. It was a serviceman's home. I freaking lived there. I loved the Christian philosophy. Sorry, I just blinded with the light. So I love the Christian philosophy. I love the Christ philosophy. If you read the books of Christ, while boring and vanilla and bland, ultimately Christ is a good dude. And beyond that, you don't really see him disparaging anybody but rich people. He loses his mind overturning tables in churches and synagogues and gives a big middle finger to a bunch of bankers. That sounds like stuff that we need to be doing. He doesn't disparage anybody. He as it's written, he defends whores and tells you not to throw the first stone if you're a freaking sinner. Watch your freaking back there, kid. What the hell? Quit projecting onto me. Um, and he was a good dude. And then you don't see any reference to um, not being homosexual in the New Testament beyond weird, obscure letter from Paul. So it suggests that even in the time of Christ, man's been trying to pervert that message. And then you get people like Pat Robertson, the disgusting Pat Robertson, who ends up saying that using the book of Leviticus to call it the abomination. Yet there are far other things listed in the book of Leviticus. If I'm not mistaken, and please correct me, please do, there is a point in Leviticus where it says that if you curse God's name, then you should be put to death. Anyone who actually hears you do it should be put to death. So if I were to go into the Capitol building and then use the Lord's name in vain, then we should all be put to death if we should follow the book of Leviticus. So there's so many hypocrisies to the rules of man, but Jesus was a swell dude. I'm a huge fan of the Jeffersonian Bible. If you are familiar with kind of the intellectual, philosophic ideas of Christ, and yeah, pretty rad. I think that's the way to go. Man has seemed to kind of pervert that bit. So if you're going to use the Christian card, I would prefer that you come with the actual Christian side, not the man perverted swamp thing. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to go in. I'm freaking cold. I'm outside. I'm trying not to wake people up. It's freaking late. But yeah, I enjoyed myself at the protest, walking all around. And I hope you guys enjoy listening to me just prattle on and on and on to no end, because I sure enjoy doing it. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Bye. Thanks.